One of the challenges with doing computer-generated characters in a real scene is the integration of that character into the scene. So what you want to do is you want to find ways for that creature or that character to affect its environment in a real way to get the reality of it.
Taking a character such as Humongosaur, who doesn't exist in reality, and integrate him into a shot presents some challenges.
Humongosaur was this big, hulkish character that was jumping around and kicking up dirt, and he had to obviously blend into the live-action plates that were shot. So that was really precise, meticulous work that, we had to basically really integrate him well. We had to integrate these live-action elements.
All the little details like dust puffs and spray on the pavement, reflections in puddles, all those things combine to create an effect that looks realistic.
In order for us to integrate Humongosaur consistently throughout the sequence, we have to get color-corrected plates as sort of a base to start with. That's sort of our foundation.
I was responsible for building the initial shading setup for Humongosaur, which is how he reacts to light, the look of his skin, his eyes, his teeth. That was something we worked really closely with Alex and Evan on to make him look real gnarled, real gritty. One of the things that we did on the show was not have things really in light. We didn't always have to see him really clearly. Sometimes by having him just kind of in shadow and really high contrast, it really made it much more menacing and much more interesting.
Environmental things, kind of like the dust, the footfalls. He does kick up some dust as he's moving around. All these things that you can add to the actual 3D character help integrate him into the shot.
We knew that there was going to need to be a lot of interaction between Humongosaur and the environment. And so early on, as we were bidding this show, we're looking at how many different CG elements we were going to have to create. And they were numerous. It was going to have to be foot stomps, trails coming off of moving spiked wheels, explosions, different elements. And it really becomes labor intensive for the 3D department to be doing all of this work. And one great solution to this problem is to actually shoot some of these elements practically, because nothing looks more real than practical, real elements.
We all decided to kind of guerrilla style go down and shoot our own smoke effects and dust effects.
3 of us went down there with an HD camera, and we had collected some gravel that morning in a big bucket, and we brought in some bags of flour.
Very, very low tech. We did puffs of flour and dirt, dust. We did some canned smoke.
And just creating these different smoke puffs and explosion elements, falling rocks, dirt, and stuff like that, so that later we would be able to key these elements off of the black background, put them into the plates, and make the shot that much more exciting and integrated.
We used it to create impact points on the ground, to integrate swarms into the ground with swirls of dust and things like that.
We were able to shoot really effective live-action elements for a lot of those effects, which saved a lot of time.
It was pretty involved. There were a lot of elements that had to be composited into those shots.
So what we've done here, as you can see, the effects team is rigging this piece of wall. This bit of concrete here was originally here. This piece of wall is styrofoam. So we've actually added this little return, and then what we've done is we've added this piece that's breakaway. Where you see those tape marks, there's pyrotechnic charges that'll blow out pieces of the wall, and it'll look like something's hit the wall.
You see Humongosaur? He smashes the chips, and they go flying behind him over to the other eye line, and they start to form spike wheels. Everyone look over the other eye line.
That's kind of what Ed.
It's kind of a nightmare.
And cut.
What's hitting the wall is going to be these giant spike wheels that are throwing off pieces at our heroes, which are hiding behind the wall. So our actors can be there safely, stuff can go flying, and we get this really great shot, and then we add our CG stuff into it, and now it feels like it's all part of the same scene.
That's kind of what Ev.
It's kind of a nightmare.
plumber's headquarters scene, we had to take the map graphics and make them look like they were being projected on the wall behind the headquarters. So in 3D, they actually tracked all the camera movements. They created 3D meshes that matched the actual ribbons in the shot.
We made use of an installation they actually have at the aquarium that we were able to get the blueprints for from the architects and build a virtual version of that installation. Then we're able to match to the camera that was on set to place that in the scene and basically replace the real set elements with our digital light band installation. And once that's created, we're able to give that geometry to the compositors, and they were able to map all the graphics onto that and have it lock into the scene perfectly.
So as you can see here, Kevin's car is taking a little bit of a hit. Last night we photographed this as a huge stunt. The car was driving about 40 miles an hour down the road, hit a big ramp, went flying, smashed itself into these pieces here. So this is great, and it's always fun to do these big stunts. People love to do them, and it's a lot of fun to shoot them, everyone except maybe the driver.
So we have a car that basically flips after it's been attacked by one of these spiked balls, and basically on set, the car is going over a steel ramp. But to the viewer doesn't want to see a steel ramp, so we have to remove that, and that's a lot of work in itself.
The challenge for us in the visual effects world is now Humungosaur's got to pick this thing up and smash stuff with it. So we have to make a computer-generated version of this car.
And there are lots of ways to build and model a car in CG. Some of them are expensive and time-consuming, then others require a lot of cheats and tricks. And because of the budget and the turnaround time, it became very evident that we needed to pull out any kind of a trick out of our bag to be able to make a CG car look very real and make it look wrecked as quickly as possible.
You know, you can't control how these things are going to crash. It didn't. We actually thought it would land on its roof. It landed on its wheels. So we only had the one. So that's the first and only take of this car crash. So we're going to make it work.
So the process that we used to make the wrecked version of Kevin 11's car was to photograph it from all orthographic angles. So we just got like a straight-on driver's side view, shot of the hood, the front grille, the passenger side, the top ceiling, the trunk, back end of the car. Once we had all of these photographs from all the different angles, we were able to line up a CG car that was the exact same make and model of the car.
When we started, we kind of didn't know how damaged it was going to be. So now we've got to actually match all these dents and all this broken glass and everything in our computer-generated version so that he has something to pick up that looks like this.
Once we had all of these photographs, we projected the texture directly from the image back onto the geometry. So that gave us a good starting point to have all of the different color layers of the car in place, wrecked with the dirt and all the scratches and all the dents and everything already built into the model. The next part of the procedure was to then build an ambient occlusion shape, which just put in the natural shading that would go along with all of those dents and the grooves and all the different seams that went with the original car. And then once we added a reflection pass and then the broken glass and everything, it really worked very well within the shot for the little bit amount of screen time that they had when Humungosaur was picking up the car. It pulled it off, and we didn't have to spend weeks and weeks developing a photoreal computer-generated car.